Last night saw Hurricanes forward Martin Necas get his first NHL hat trick, all in the first period. Despite some sloppy play from the Hurricanes, they were able to hang on and come away with the win against the Avalanche. We talk about all that and more in this episode of Locked On Hurricanes.
You're Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, Caniacs. I'm your host, Jared Ellis, and you're listening to Locked On Hurricanes on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And as always, thank you for making Locked On Hurricanes your first listen of this Friday morning. And last night, the Carolina Hurricanes were able to come away with a 5-2 win over the Colorado Avalanche. And the big thing coming out of that game was or the biggest thing, because there's quite a few things we got to talk about when it comes to this game, to be honest. But the biggest thing was Martin Necas getting his first NHL hat trick, and all of these goals came in the first period alone, which is crazy to think about. It was the second shortest hat trick achieved for in Hurricanes franchise history, or was it the first, or was it the second fastest to the first? Let's see, the second fastest hat trick to begin a game in Canes history. Canes trio, or Necas's trio, remains only bested by Corey Stillman, who scored 3 goals in just 11 minutes and 28 seconds back on November 5th of 2007. And that, of course, is coming from the Hurricanes recap there. So crazy to think about with Necas there, that he just now got his first hat trick. It was one of those things, for me, when it happened, it was like, oh crap, is it his first? Yeah, because he's been part of the Canes roster for so long, and especially with the season he had last year, definitely like, oh man, he must have he is just like one of those guys on the roster, like, oh yeah, he's already had a hat trick, he's already had one. uh but that wasn't the case, and he netted his first hat trick last night. And it's crazy to think about, just how quick it happened again. All these happened in the first period. Just looking at the time for each of these, his first goal came minute 52 seconds into the first. The second goal was 6 minutes and 25 seconds, and the third was 16 minutes and 51 seconds. And even on the broadcast, Mike Maniscalco brought up Necas being on hat trick watch, and then few minutes later, what do you know? He's getting himself a hat trick. And it felt like this was something that really gave the Hurricanes a lot of momentum, and they really had it going. They had it going. They obviously came to play. Again, they just getting his first goal just under 2 minutes into the game, whereas in the past, we've talked about how it takes forever for him to wake up in games, and there was no vacation rust left on Marty Necas in this game. Like, he came ready to play. Because that was kind of something we saw in the last game against Vancouver, was vacation rust. These guys had a week off, and heck, you can still look at Pyotr Kochetkov and tell that that kid needs to learn what sunscreen is. Um, but we'll talk more about Kochetkov later. Obviously super proud of Necas, for getting that first milestone in his, not just Kane's career, but just career in general. It's his first hat trick. Um, and yeah, he deservedly won the first star. And yeah, this was something that I felt really kind of set the tone for the Hurricanes early on. But it wasn't without its you know I don't well, I wouldn't say controversy, but the Hurricanes couldn't make it easy on themselves. They couldn't just continue to ride this and just I don't want to say an easy night at the office, but you know, you had a 3-0 lead in the first period, and you blew it because they made like a lot of mistakes there towards the end of the first period, and just within a matter of seconds, the Avalanche came back and made it a game. Paris, he ended up scoring what was his first of the year at 19 minutes and 33 seconds into the first period. Okay, fine, but the one that wasn't the one that folks were really kind of I guess, upset about. That was kind of yeah, it was really the second one, the Gerard goal, that came just a few seconds later at 19:38 in the first. That was the one where folks really, kinda got frustrated, because, again, it was, within just a few seconds, uh, they were able to come back and make it a game, and, for, to have allowed 2 goals in the final, 30 seconds or not even 30 seconds of the game, that was pretty frustrating. We've said a lot, how, late goals tend to bite the Hurricanes in the butt. And this, came very close to being just that. The Hurricanes got really lucky, um to be able to come out on the winning end of this game. And, really, as I want to say, with those goals, it was kind of them. I am almost maybe checking out of the period a little bit too early, and just be like, oh, we're up 3-0. We got under a minute to go. Yeah, just focused on getting to the locker room. I don't know what was the case there, but the second goal, Gerard, he ripped it from beyond the blue line and went in. That is not one you ever want to see unless your team is the one scoring it. Um, but yeah, this was uh that was definitely a very deflating way to end the first. And I am proud of the Hurricanes for how they were able to come back in that game, or well, not necessarily come back, but hold on, because they had all of the momentum on their side following Necas's third goal, but then it was all gone in less than 10 seconds. With the Avs scoring those 2 goals, and it was you're going into that first intermission really being like, "Oh, what the heck?" That was something that was, echoed on broadcast and everything. It was like, you had such a good first period, and then it was just all gone. And thankfully, they were still able to have a lead, even though it was only a 1-goal lead. They blew a 3-goal lead. Um, They blew all of that, and, yeah, it was very much like, "Oh my god, Avs got him on the ropes now. We know, how good the Avs can be," and it was very just, "Oh god, oh god, oh god," going into that second period, like, and then the fact that, Brind'amour also made a very rare goaltending change, that was crazy, a as well. But Yeah, we'll talk more about what happened with Auntie Ronta and the remainder of the game right after this quick break, folks. Now, folks, passion, drive, and patience are what brings home the winning trophy and is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you'll need and want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit only available to US customers. Now, heading into the second period, again, we are all, very much like, oh, crap. Really just thinking the Abs, we're really going to have the Hurricanes on the ropes. They're going to come back. That 3-0 lead would be gone. It would be another wasted hat trick, much like this fetch one in Edmonton, if you guys remember that. That was the one I was very frustrated about because Fetch was literally the only one out there doing anything. And that was a wasted hat trick. There's, really thinking that this was going to be the same thing, but it wasn't. As I said, Rod Brind'amour made a rare goalie switch during the intermission, going with Auntie Ronta to start the second. Doesn't happen very often, so that was obviously a very rare sight and caught a lot of people off guard. Um, yeah, and I think it was yeah, is something echoed here in the Hurricanes write up about the game of it being a wake up call to Kochetkov. Yeah, I totally think it was. It was a, hey, get your head in the game, kid. You're better than this. And yeah, I kind of chalk a little bit of that up to being a kid, inexperienced, still learning. And again, I think it very much may have been they're kind of thinking about, oh, let's just get to the locker room, get to the locker room kind of thing. But yeah, it was a much calmer second period. Auntie Ranta, he ended up stopping all 9 shots that he faced. And it definitely helped, the Hurricanes, hang on to their lead. Him back there in between the pipes. I think that was really, really important there. Had they stuck with Kochetkov, which, you know, 9 times out of 10, they probably would have, because of how rare it is for the Hurricanes to make goalie changes mid-game like that. Um, it that may not have been the case, guys. Yeah, if they didn't make the switch to Antti Raanta. I know we all love Pyotr Kochetkov, but I don't know if that lead would have hung on as long as it did because they had Kochetkov on the ropes, and they just beat him twice in a matter of what 3, a matter of well, just on the clock 5 seconds, but and you know, I don't think that lead would have lasted had they stuck with him. I really don't. I think the Avs had him where they wanted him, and especially if there was more time left in the first, it would have been bad. It would have been bad, but that wasn't the case, and thankfully they made that switch to Antti Ranta, which him just being as good as he was for the Hurricanes allowed them to uh, get back a 2-goal lead. And this time, it came from Michael Bunting, also on the power play, and no surprise, great setup, from Teuvo Teravainen. And I think that, man, it was real key there that second period, to really, just calm things down. You know, and because it was so hectic in that first period, from having a hat trick in the first period to blowing a 3-0 lead, being on the ropes heading into the second period. It was crazy. So to be able to have, just a period where like your goalie, he's just back there doing his thing, making the stops and keeping you in it. And then your power play, which has really been rolling, uh, for it to come up when you needed it. They needed to get uh that second goal, or that 2-goal lead back. They really needed that. And obviously Michael Bunting, coming through on that. That was his 11th goal of the season. And it was this game was not done yet. Yes, the Hurricanes outscoring again to make it 5-2, but we also had injuries. And that's not good for the Hurricanes, because one of them was to Auntie Ranta. And it did say, I am reading again, from the Hurricanes write-up saying, quote, "Although nothing looked noticeable, Ronta was ruled out for the rest of the night due to a lower body injury. That meant Kochekov, who started the night and was pulled, had to re-enter." End quote. Yeah, and Ronta, perfect frame, stopping game high 10 shots from Colorado. Uh, and yeah, it was, that's not good for the Hurricanes, for him to be going down, and that wasn't the only injury either, uh, because it did look like Seth Jarvis was hurt as well. This was also his 200th, career game, so, obviously, uh, congratulations to him for that. But yeah, Seth Jarvis also, left the ice looking hurt later on in the game as well. But he did, uh, ended up getting an empty net goal, late in the game. Uh, Stick was slashed when it was hit, but you know they awarded it to him regardless. That was his 16th of the year. So I imagine we'll probably hear more about Ronta, more about Jarvis, and you know, I don't think it's anything serious for either of them. Especially Jarvis. I don't think there's really anything to worry about. But Ronta is going to be the interesting case here. Is there anything going to be wrong? Again, I imagine we'll find out more about that later today. And we'll obviously talk about it over the weekend. But that's not gonna be good, because one thing, that, following, kinda in that first intermission, I was seeing a lot of, folks like, "This just kinda proves the Hurricanes need to trade for a goalie." If they're wanting to win a Stanley Cup, they have got to make a move for a goalie, and I wholeheartedly agree. Yes, Freddie has been cleared, but he is nowhere near ready to come back. He has been out for months. He is not in game shape. He's got to get back in game shape. There's going to be a lot of rust on there, or on him. And, so I'm just kind of like, he comes back when he comes back. It's not when I'm like, all right, he'll be back on this day, playoffs start this day, no, no, I'm not looking at it. He comes back when he comes back. I'm not looking for that to be anytime soon. On Toronto, we've been around and around with him this year. He's looked good. He's looked crap. He got put on waivers and sent to the AHL. Um, but yeah, he's a solid number 2, but he's not the guy that can really carry you through the playoffs. Pyotr Kochetkov, again, solid number 2 right now, but he's not ready to be that number 1 guy. He ain't ready yet. That first period proved it. I think he was again just focused on that intermission and got away from him. And not just him. I think that was kind of the whole team there also. But this kind of has really shown that they need to make that move. If they're serious about winning a Stanley Cup, they need to go out and make a move, and a big move at that. Don't go bargain bin hunting. Really like go out and don't. I've said it before again how they kind of go those Moneyball movie tactics and whatnot. Sometimes when it comes to looking for guys, don't do that. Go get the stud. Go get the stud that can carry you to a Stanley Cup. That can get you over the hump that you're on or that you're stuck on. Go do that. One name I kind of saw a lot of last night was, when all this was going on again is while everything was going on. So, take it with a grain of salt was that of Marc-Andre Fleury. I think that's a possibility. He's been a name that's been circled around the Hurricanes for past couple years. I remember like when he was getting traded out of Vegas before he went to Chicago. Carolina was one of the names floating around there. I believe, when he was getting traded out of Chicago, Hurricanes were again a name floating around. I don't remember on that one for sure though, but I remember when he was getting traded out of Vegas, Hurricanes were in the mix. So maybe, I said before, when talking about goalies, that could be, good for, a couple years. That's not going to be a long-term solution for them, given his age. But, I think it'd be an upgrade from what they got right now. So we'll have to wait and see. And we'll continue to dive into that stuff, as time goes on, and the trade deadline inches closer. Because one thing the Hurricanes are going to have to do, regardless of who they go after, is work, do some salary cap work. They're going to have to move some money. But yeah, I definitely think this game really proved that they need to make a move for a goalie. Uh, they got to do it. Yeah, if they're serious about winning a Stanley Cup, they got to do it. They got to. They just got to, guys. But, as a whole, this game was a good game for the Hurricanes. I did like how they were able to battle back, from, that crap into the first period. You had a lot of guys shining in this game, folks, and we will discuss the stars of the game as well as what is next up for the Hurricanes right after this quick break, folks. Now, folks, we're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. So don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data and matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree that Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. So join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast, folks. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at indeed.com/locked on. Just go to indeed.com/locked on right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/locked on. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Now, folks, did you know that even if you have a 401k for retirement, you can still have a IRA? Robinhood has the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this, now through April 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from other retirement accounts with a 3% match. That's right, no cap on the 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. This offer is good through April 30th, so get started at robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply. And now for some legal info. Claim as of Q1 2024 validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves risk and loss. Limitations apply to IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year from the date of the first 3% match. Must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. The 3% matching on transfers is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA available to U.S. customers in good standings. Robinhood Financial LLC member SIPC is a registered broker dealer. Now, folks, the 3 stars of the game. These aren't anything that should really come as any surprise in this game, really. First star of the game for me is obviously Martin Necas. Had a hat trick in the first period. It is his first hat trick. Obviously, he's going to be the first star. He was the official first star, I guess you would say, as well. The second star is for me also the same as the official first star, and that is Teuvo Teravainen having 4 assists on the night. Third star for me is that of Brent Burns, who had 2 assists on the night. I think he had a really good game. The official third star, who I do feel is worth a mention here, is that of Michael Bunting, having 1 goal on that power play, it being a power play goal that we mentioned earlier that kind of really gave the Hurricanes that insurance policy back, gave them that 2 goal lead back in the second period, and really felt like it got things pointed back in the right direction for him. So I do feel he is worth a mention here. But it was another night where we had multiple Hurricanes show up on the score sheet. Again, Martin Necas had 3 goals. You also had Brady Shea and Jordan Stahl on the first goal, Burns and Teravainen on the second, Teravainen and Slavin on the second, and then Bunting, you had Teravainen and Burns. And then on Seth Jarvis's empty netter at the end of the game, Teravainen yet again, and then Sebastian Aho as well. So Teuvo Teravainen all over the score sheet tonight or last night. Brent Burns up there a few times, obviously. Martin Necas. So you look at the names showing up here on these, between the goal scorers, between the guys, racking up the assists. These are the names we're wanting to be showing up night after night, folks. Obviously there's still A whole lot of hockey left to play. We just started the second half of the season. This was literally the second game post All-Star break. There's still a lot of hockey left to be played. So anything can happen. But, you know, seeing a score sheet like that, obviously take the final score out of it, 5-2. But just the names that are showing up there, Natchez, Burns, Shea, Aho, Teravainen. Um, these are names that we're wanting to show up at this point of the year, and that's something that we're going to want to continue down the stretch and into the playoffs. That's going to be really, really important because you look back at when they were really struggling. It was literally being said that the top guys weren't playing like top guys. So they're playing like that now, and we need that to continue. I know that there are going to be dips. There's still going to be bad games between now and when the playoffs start. The Hurricanes are going to have bad games. Literally every team is going to have some bad games between now and when the playoffs start. It is not going to be the end of the world. Um, but just as a whole, this is what I'm wanting to see on a pretty regular basis. These are the names we want showing up night after night. This is what's going to get us over that hump in the playoffs. Top guys playing like top guys. Again, we need to figure out the goaltending situation and figure it out fast, to be completely honest. But you know, uh, as a whole, this is what we're looking for here, folks. And I think they can do it. It's just going to be whether or not they do it. But as far as to what is next for the Carolina Hurricanes, um, it's going to be interesting, folks, to see what ends up being the case with Antti Ranta. I do believe they are having the day off today, actually. We're going to double check just to kind of see what's going on. Let's see what's going on with the Hurricanes today. See if they are practicing today. I don't believe they are practicing today, though. They are practicing noon today. Um, so we'll likely get more about Antti Ranta later this afternoon. Uh, Potentially Seth Jarvis, although I don't think there's really anything to worry about there. Maybe get some fetch updates as well. He's obviously being yellow, no contact. And maybe something about Freddie. We'll just kind of wait and see as far as updates on players, what happens. But they are, of course, practicing later this afternoon. And then next up is the game on the 13th, and that is next Tuesday. They are at home taking on the New Jersey Devils. That should definitely be a fun game. Obviously, divisional matchup. That's going to be a tough game as well. The Hurricanes are going to have their work cut out for them on that one. Yeah, because we've said many times when it comes to metro teams, it don't matter. Record don't matter. Standings don't matter. These teams are going to play the crap out of each other. But the Hurricanes came away with the win against the Avs 5-2. And before we sign off today, we are going to just take a quick look to see where the Hurricanes are at in the standings now. Uh, Obviously, they are still in second place in the Metro. They are one game back of the New York Rangers. Hurricanes sitting in second at 29, 16, and 5 and 63 points. The Rangers are again in first place at 32, 16, and 3 and 67 points. So the Hurricanes are still right there on the Rangers' heels. They were 2 points back, but definitely feel like game against Vancouver didn't help the Hurricanes there. So playoffs were to start day. The Hurricanes, they'd have that second spot in the Metro, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this race pans out. Rangers again have won 3 straight. Obviously, the Hurricanes just won last night. So we'll see what happens this weekend, what happens later on this afternoon, what kind of updates we get. We'll again talk about all of that here on Locked On Hurricanes. So make sure you are following along at LO_Hurricanes and following myself at Jared Ellis _96. And I'll talk to you guys in the next episode. And as always, folks, let's go Canes.